Hey everyone, it's World Film Geek here, and I interviewed Mark Savage and Tom Parnell. They are the co-writers, with Savage directing, the film Painkiller, starring Bill Oberst Jr. as a radio talk show host turned masked vigilante against the opioid crisis. The film is coming out on May 4th. Enjoy the interview.
All right, there we go. So, thank you so much, Tom and Mark, for showing up for this interview today. And I gotta say, I really enjoyed Painkiller. It was such a great film. It reminded me of Death Wish, meshed up with a little bit of Batman, and the mask looked like something that came out of The Purge. Overall, it was an excellent film, and I really enjoyed it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Albert.
Really, great hearing that.
And I talked to Bill yesterday, and man, he had so much fun making this movie. He was telling me, he called you Mark. He said you're one of the directorial gods. That's what he called. That's what he personally called you. he's a god when it comes to directing. He had a lot of fun with this one.
Bill himself, Tom and I regard him as a god because he is just an amazing actor, and just you couldn't want a better person on your side in your movie playing important characters than Bill.
Definitely. I think I told Bill he's totally an icon. He's one of my favorite actors. And just to talk to him yesterday, we like even delved into talking about exploitation and all that, like how much we love that genre. But my first question is, how did this project come about?
I guess I'll take that one, Mark. December 23rd of 2017, my son passed away from an opioid overdose. And
sorry to hear that.
Yeah, and the grief counselor I see, which she and other people started talking to me about a legacy. What are you going to do to preserve Jordan's legacy? And I don't want to start a foundation or some other ritual that so many people do and raise money for something. There's enough of those anyway. And so I kind of just put it off. And then in 2019, it just struck me. I mean, Mark and I were working on other projects, and I thought, maybe this is the message I need to try to send, to try to put a legacy for him, to see if we can get the message out there. I had no idea, I don't think Mark did either, of how horrible this plague is, this crisis. Societal level devastation, it's been called. And of course, once COVID started, it just has taken a back seat. But anyway, I told Mark the idea. He flew to Tampa, and we worked on it for about a week. And
well, I remember when we first were talking about it, I was also a little bit hesitant, because of what you'd gone through. I remember like having a couple of conversations, sort of saying to Tom, are you sure you're good to do this? Because, talk about, it's so personal that, and he just seemed like he just said eventually, yeah, let's definitely do it. But that was my initial hesitation. I didn't want it to be something that would be just so traumatic for Tom, so painful that it, almost, makes his grief. I mean, I don't think you ever stop going through the grief, but, I didn't want it to be something that would exacerbate the grief. But yeah, Tom said, okay, let's do it. And as he said, yeah, flew to Tampa, and the first thing we did was outline the story.
Yeah, well, actually, it was more cathartic, I think. Many, well, if not all the lines when Bill's talking about the death, and for instance, for the responsibility that he felt, why didn't I see the pain she was in? Why didn't I do more? Why didn't I prepare her? I mean, everything that he says just about in there is thoughts that I've had myself on my own personal tragedy. So it was very, very personal, but it was, like I said, it was almost being able to get it out, and so the world can see this and know what it feels like, and try to make a difference.
Yeah, and that's what Bill said. He said that he said the film to him was cathartic as well, because he conveyed that role. He makes any role work, and here he plays a guy whose daughter succumbed to this crisis, and why couldn't he feel that pain? And the same way, and that's what made it really well. And I think he did an excellent job, and the whole script was good too. I mean, just the whole story. Like, what if someone actually did this, like a Charles Bronson, like Death Wish, against these opioid pushers, but put on this mask. And by the way, kudos out to that mask. That mask looked amazing in that movie.
Mark, take a bow, because when he first came up with that idea, I didn't like it. But as usual, he got his way, and it worked out fantastic.
Well, that's what, and the fact that you had a cop involved in this, like knowing the secret and helping him, that's where the Batman vibe for me came in. It was like she was the Commissioner Gordon to his Bruce Wayne, if you will.
Yeah,
You know.
no,
You
yeah,
could have had a
because
searchlight. A big searchlight would have been great.
yeah, because it seemed like well, it seemed to make it more credible, because otherwise it's going to be, where is he really getting the information as to where the people are who have been involved in who've been involved in doing the wrong things with opioids, whether it's an executive or whether it's a street dealer. There's a couple of those as well. And that it seemed like it would be good for him to be having a relationship with a friendship, like business relationship with a cop, because it's also a really good way to also have someone. He sort of almost needs someone to, in some way, to kind of like temper his craziness a little bit, because he almost does get to a point where he himself almost loses it, to the point he starts becoming reckless. And there's a point where she actually does tell him, you've got to pull it back.
Right.
Because nobody else is doing that. And it's not something you're going to do on your own. So to us, it kind of like made sense that there would be someone like that who would be, who would play that role. And then the actress that we chose, Calamar Gaston, thought she was really just amazing, like a really amazing look. She's got such an interesting look. And we tested probably about 10 or 15 different actresses. And yeah, she was like, she just stood out by a mile. It was like, it's got to be her.
Yeah, she was great. I mean, that chemistry between her and Bill was just amazing. It was mind blowing. And Tom, you even did a good job in the film as Doc. I mean, we see your character struggle through so much. I mean, let's just face it. Your wife leaves you for the other doctor. Doctor threatens you because he wants his patent so bad to use as an opioid. But it's clear, like, you're the good doc, he's the bad doc. And it even helps, like, your scenes with Bill was really, it felt like, how do I put this? It was cathartic in a way too. Your scenes with Bill, because you actually went through it, and here he is as the character that goes through what you went through. So I thought that was really brilliant on its own as well.
Well, thank you for that. When Bill and I are together, when we're doing scenes, we were doing each other's lines. You stayed at my house the whole time, and he's so easy to work with. It just gives you a sense of calm and also confidence. I can't describe it, but the rapport, it seems completely real. Every scene I do with him, it doesn't feel like you're acting at all, even though you're saying the written word. But I want to add too that Mark and I talked about possibly we thought about briefly of doing a documentary on this, and we did. People will watch documentaries, but they don't want to be preached to. They don't want to have to listen to statistics and all the things. Most of them anyway. And that's why we wanted to make this film. If we entertain them, and then we give them the message on the backside, they're not going to know they're being taught, or they're not going to feel it as much anyway. And that's why I've been asked, are you promoting killing pharmaceutical executives? Jeez, no.
It's a movie. I mean, come on.
Yeah. We're no more promoting that than
promoting death.
Than Death Wish or The Exterminator. Is promoting.
Yeah, exactly.
is promoting that. The thing is, for us, we're also big fans of genre movies. I mean, I love films like Death Wish and James Wan's Death Sentence, and
I love those. Yeah.
We all like those. So the thing is, it seemed like we're genre films. That's what we love. We love genre films. So the whole point is, it's like, well, let's just find something and add it as substance to our genre film. And I think that in a way, I think you almost absorb more information when it's within the frame of a genre film, rather than actually, I think if you just forefront all the kind of facts and documentary stuff, I think people tend to almost turn away and kind of push it away but whereas a genre film kind of, you kind of bringing people into it. I mean, this is our challenge, to still make it a compelling genre film. I mean, that's what we're trying to do. But at the same time, get out the message that, Tom wanted to get out, I wanted to get out, but without it overwhelming the genre film, and without the genre film overwhelming the message. So it's just kind of like trying to find a balance. And someone like Bill, as Tom said, he just sets a fantastic tone in every scene, that he brings it, he makes it very real. So everyone's got to step up to the plate that Bill establishes, you know what I mean? And I don't say in any way that any of the other actors weren't able to, and even before Bill, but I mean, he's a very, very experienced actor, and his process is very pure, and he's also an actor too, that when he has a question or when he has an idea, it's never just about something like, hey, this is a good idea to get me more scenes or get me more screen time.
Yeah, he really delves into it. Yeah, I've known.
Yeah.
Talking to him yesterday, he's like, and like the fact that, you know, we were talking about why we love like these lower, you know, these genre films, because Bill's just like a normal guy. You know, he doesn't have this certain image. He doesn't have the image of the,
Yes.
you know, the A-list Hollywood action hero. You know, he's just a normal guy. You know, and and that's why this film works as well, because, you know, he's got that regular guy look. And, you know, we were talking about that. I'm like, I even saw my, you know, watch these films, and I see myself on there at, you know, depending
That's
on
great. Like, that's actually one of the best things I can hear, you know, like that you see yourself. I mean, that was also the reason we originally cast him in the film Stress to Kill, which in a way is almost like a prequel to this, even though this is not because there's two characters from that carry over into this, which is Tom's character, the doc, and Bill. But yeah, that was the initial reason why he was cast, apart from the fact that we love him already. He was able to play the everyman. And when you've got a character who's also a killer, you've really got to, you know, make sure that his reasons for what he's doing has got to be very strong, so that people are still willing to go along with what his dilemma is. And I'm not saying they're supposed to love him, because I don't think a lead character has to be loved. Right. But you have to at least care enough to want to stay with what he's doing and kind of believe that whatever his mission is, you know, whether he's Robert Ginty in Exterminator, or whether he's, you know, Bronson in Death Wish, you know, or Harry Brown, you know, Michael Caine, you know, you have to still at least go, I get why he's doing it. And that's what Bill conveys really well. And just one more thing, I think it's ironic. Tom's playing against Bill, who essentially is playing Tom.
Yeah, that's the insane thing about it. Yeah. And I gotta say but I will say the cast was really great, and Michael Pare really nailed it as the doctor, because I've seen him in good guy roles, I've seen him in bad guy roles. This has to be one of the best bad guys role he's done, because he doesn't have to give the physical aspect of the bad guy, but he's got that mentality. I felt like between him and Bill, it ultimately delved into a cat and mouse type thing between the two of them, and that's what really elevated the film, in my opinion.
No, well, he beat the heck out of me in that one scene. He asked me, "You want this to be real?" I'm like, "Yeah, let's make it real." The next day, I was bruised all the way across.
Oh, man. Then I remember he got physical with you, and Bill said, you know, imagine if I had gotten a fight scene with Michael in this movie.
Oh my God!
Armand Assante fought him in the Stress to Kill.
Yes.
Imagine if I had fought Michael in this, how insane that would have been. But I'm kind of glad it didn't go that way, because we wanted to do something different.
He deadlifts like 400 pounds or something. He's so fit.
Well, that's true. I remember Bill saying that Asante did get pretty rough with him in that scene in Stress to Kill. There's a scene when Asante throws him down on the ground, and Bill was almost like he wants it to happen. But Bill did say to me he got pretty rough with him. Yeah. But I think Pare's great. Also, Pare's a naturally charming guy, and he's got a charming persona. So he's very good at kind of like switching between charm and maliciousness, and which is why the first time you see him in the movies, he does three things. You see him being very professional with a patient, then straight after he's basically dealing with a woman he's obviously having a very inappropriate relationship with, gives her some drugs. Then his girlfriend comes in, then he's back to being, you know, a Don Juan.
Yeah.
And he's very good at sort of like just switching that. And to me, that's one of the real strengths of Pare, is that he's really good when you need a character who's got that duality to them.
Exactly. That's exactly what I thought. And that, you know, the same way with Bill, he's got that duality as well, and he pulls it off very nicely. You know.
Let me tell you something about Bill that'll sum up him as a human being. When we were filming Stress to Kill, the line that I wrote, my daughter was in the film. She was in the cafe talking too loud, irritating the character. And so the line was, she goes, her boyfriend's breaking up with her, and she says, "What, are you dumping me?" And he's already irritated with her. He looks over Sandy, he goes, "Yeah, he's dumping you, you plastic bitch, hopefully into a landfill." And so Bill comes up to me before the scene, and remember, this is my first film. That's the first film I was ever actually on the hook. And he says, "Are you sure you want me to say this? I mean, it's your daughter." Yes, I want you to say it. I wrote it. Yes. But he just didn't want to offend me. He's just such a sweet.
Yeah, that's how much of a nice guy he is. Like, yeah, man, he's like they're all really great in this movie. I mean, and just the way the story came out, I was just like, and I love the name that you gave him in the vigilante mode, 6 shooter. I mean, it I think that was amazing. I saw that in the credits, and I thought that
Right.
was awesome. That's like the perfect name for him because he just kept pumping 6 bullets in each person, and it's just like. And I love the line, why do you shoot 6 times? And he's like, because that's how many bullets are in a gun. I love that. Was like my favorite line of the movie right there.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it was kind of like, I think at some point we did have that conversation about sort of like that, yeah, he's got this level of anger that's just like it just can't even be, he's not able to purge it until the end. And even, well, I won't say what he does, but there's a point when he even tries to unload even more than he actually should after things have been kind of somewhat resolved. And it just becomes like a real extension of, in a way, almost kind of like a symbolic of his inability to deal with his grief and his outrage, until finally the issue needs to have been resolved, until he finally is able to literally stop shooting.
Yeah, that's amazing, and yeah, just. Man, this is a great film overall. I hope everyone gets to see this, not just for the genre and grindhouse feel to things, but to get that message across, because we need more movies like that. We're
doing our best to try to get the message out. We're a bunch of different venues and exploring everything we can, because, like we said, it's more about the message than it is the movie, and that's
yeah.
what we're focused.
And this is a very serious crisis. It's involved in all sorts of media now. I mean, we're talking about how they killed off Roseanne's character the same way after she got fired from the Connors, and then when they renamed it, they killed her off through an opioid addiction. So,
oh, really? I didn't know that was. I didn't know that was a story idea that they used for that.
I didn't know that. Like, first saw it, and like after they fired Roseanne Barr, they're like, yeah, they killed her off through opioid addiction. So I found that very intriguing as well. I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. So that's how bad the crisis is. They're using it.
Well, yeah, and I think in some ways, like our targeting of the pharma industry is also targeting the fact that, because we're not saying that some people don't, that opioids can't help some people. We're not saying that, but we're saying that it's the underhanded tactics. Like, one thing we cover in it is what's called, off-target marketing, which is probably one of the most heinous things of all, where you have a drug that's created for one thing. So, for example, a cancer patient. And then the industry starts marketing it for someone who just comes in and says, "Oh, well, I've got a sore leg," or I've got an ache in my side," and then they push that particular drug, and then of course the person gets addicted because it gives them an initial. But it's like giving someone 100 times what they need, rather than giving them something that's appropriate. And I think that's one of the most pernicious aspects of what they've been doing, because off-target marketing, because it doesn't necessarily sound like it's illegal, but it's actually illegal because the drug is approved for a particular use. Yeah, exactly. And then they still push it for other uses, and they get doctors to do it. It's like they intimidate doctors and they offer them incentives. So there was an interesting thing when we were making the movie. Every now and then, because Tom and I spent a lot of time together when we're writing. And anyway, I remember at one point took a break and went and got a coffee somewhere. And the guy who I kept going to this coffee shop in Tampa. One point I said to the guy, he said to me, "Oh, where are you from?" Blah, blah, blah. Obviously not from around here. I don't know how he knew that. And he said to me, "Oh, what are you, here? What are you working on?" I said, "Well, my partner Tom and I are working on a film about opioids, the abuse of opioids, and my his son died." The guy said to me, "Well, I used to be a doctor." And he said, he goes, "I haven't always run coffee shops." So I said, "You were a doctor? You're still a doctor?" He said, "No." He goes, I couldn't make a living as a doctor anymore because I wouldn't prescribe opioids to most of my patients."
Wow.
And it was like, "What? Are you serious?" He said, "Yes." He said he had a certain amount of patients, and he got to a point where nearly he said basically 75% of the patients were only coming to him because they figured that, "Will you write a prescription?" They know exactly what they want because it's advertised all the time. And they'd say, "Can you write me that?" And he'd say, "No, that's not appropriate for you." And they'd say, "All right, fine, I'll find another doctor." And so he basically closed his business down and opened up a coffee shop because he wouldn't cross that line in going, "Okay, I'll write you this to stay in business."
That's great. I mean, in a way, that's sad to hear, but in another way, it's great to hear because he has that moral compass. And that's what really worked, and that's what it sounds like Tom's character in the movie. He has that moral compass. He wants the heart. He just wanted to do this for heart patients. Yet, Dr. Rhodes is like, no, we're gonna use this. I want to use this as a painkiller, and what happened next? The bruises showed it all.
I had a fellow tell me yesterday that his son, the subject came up, and his son had a football or sports-related injury, and the doctor treated him and gave him a prescription for 75 oxycodone tablets. 75. Now the statistics studies show that you can become addicted to this mess in 5 days. And while he gave him clearly enough to ruin his life, but what they'll do sometimes, they'll just prescribe 5 or 7 pills or whatever, and they take them, and then they want more, and they won't prescribe anymore. So that's when they're going to the street. I mean, I've had people ask me, is it true that fentanyl and heroin kill more people than prescription painkillers? They don't have exact numbers, but they probably do. But they didn't start by using heroin. They didn't start just picking up a fentanyl lollipop. They started with legal, usually prescribed painkillers that led them down the road to these harsher drugs that they're cutting with all kinds of stuff. And that's killing them too. So, they're not going to get off the hook by saying that.
Yeah, no, it's clear. This is an issue that has to be addressed. And I'm glad it's done in a different way with this movie. Maybe a genre film, but I feel like it does give a message, and I'm hoping more people will get to see this when it comes out on May 4th.
Thank you.
And I'm praying. I know, and I just hope people will understand that this is a serious issue and one that's not to be messed with. But so
Thanks.
Finally, with that said, what is next for you guys after the release of Painkiller? Is there anything you guys working on now or upcoming?
Go ahead, Mark.
Yeah, we are. I mean, we're just starting to outline another a sequel to this film.
Oh,
yeah, we are doing a sequel, and we're not going to necessarily rush into doing it. I mean, we don't want it to be exactly the same, just like a repeat of this. We've already started doing it. We're outlining that. We're outlining another film as well that would also be shot in Tampa, I know Tom also does a couple of does some acting in various films too, and I'm also doing a film this is separate from that. I'm also doing a film that Mark Lester is producing in a couple of months as well, called Bring Him Back Dead. Jeff Miller and Mark Lester, and Tom's also looks like he will have a role in that one as well.
Nice.
Don't forget about our summer project.
And we got another one called we're also working on called Home Wreckers.
No, but you didn't mention Advocate.
Oh, which one? So we've got so many.
We're hoping to film a film called Advocate. It's about a kid that gets abused by his father growing up in sports and gets crippled. And he later on in life, he's kept it suppressed. Later on in life, he's taken photos of Little League games, soccer games, and he sees a father just absolutely abusing his son, and he just kind of snaps. And so basically he starts killing overzealous sports parents. So another genre film that we think people will be able to relate to when they know sports and parents. But go ahead.
That one was optioned by a company called Toric Films. They optioned it about a month and a half ago, and that's really close at the moment to getting us a shoot date, a start date. So
that's awesome.
It should be interesting, kind of like dealing with the subject of
the sports parent,
abuse of sport, which I think most people can relate in some way to that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm originally from New York, and I live in a sports town. I'm from one of those small football towns in New York, and I've seen those parents where they push their kids to play football, and that sounds like something. Thankfully, my family was not like that. My brothers played football, but I was the bookworm, so it was totally okay. So that helped. But yeah, I totally see that, and man, that sounds so good. I mean, you don't get that with these A-list films. You would never see something like that. This is why I love indie cinema so much, because it's so creative and original. You could take one genre of film and just change so much with it, do a lot with it. And I
agree. Do you mind if I ask you a question? You were saying that you're a bookworm. Would you mind sharing what were the books that were influential for you?
Well, I work in a library, so that's a good thing. So that's my day job. But I love Stephen King. I always loved reading his stuff. Dean Koontz was another one of my favorites. Mm-hmm. I remember reading Watchers and The Funhouse, and I just watched the film adaptations of those.
Funhouse as Owen West.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, I used to read those. I read a lot. I've been catching up on like books I read as a kid that were like that later became movies, like The Never Ending Story. I got the book.
Mhm.
I got the original Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. I just recently got one that I used to read so much as a kid that became actually a kid's special, The Adventures of a 2-Minute Werewolf. I just got that. That was one of my all-time favorites.
That's a great title.
Yeah, so I was like, I just started. I'm actually almost done reading that one. Bless the Beasts and Children was another favorite.
yeah.
I ended up buying, and luckily I found the movie on a MOD DVD, so I ended up buying it. So it's just
Yeah, Billy Mummy is in that.
yeah,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, Tom and I, something that Tom and I have a massive passion for is the original Lost in Space.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, we love it. We love the original Lost in Space. I send Tom music, and then we trade Dr. Smith barbs all the time, back and forth. It's kind of
Sometimes
fun.
when I'm meditating in my office, I turn on the music, Lost in Space theme.
Yeah, I think I remember one time I was watching the Howard Stern show and Billy Mummy was on, and
Right.
Billy West, the voice actor, he started impersonating the doctor, and he
really?
he would flirt with Billy in the doctor voice. And I would lose it. I lost my mind when I saw it.
Oh, that's fantastic. I'll have to look that up. I love Stern. I'll have to try to find an old recording of that.
He'd be like, do you remember the time, young Billy, when we were out in the backyard and we were just doing I'm like, no. I was like, no. It was really funny. So, man, Painkiller is coming out on May the 4th. This is a great genre film, and it has a really good message about the opioid crisis, and people need to see this. It has excellent cast, a great story. Mark and Tom, thank you so much for taking the time to talk about it. I hope the movie's hit, and I will tell you right now, I am looking forward to the sequel whenever it's ready. I'm still going to be the first in line to see it. That's it.
Thanks,
Thank
Albert.
you so much. It's been great chatting.
All right, you guys take care and stay safe.
Okay.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.